Jan Pospisil is a Sudan Affairs analyst and an associate professor on peace and conflict resolution at Coventry University in the UK. He joins me now live on the line from Nairobi. Welcome to you, Jan. Those numbers are quite staggering. Almost 4 million displaced, more than 20 million people considered to be, well, they say they've got food insecurity, but it sounds basically like they're struggling to find regular food. That's according to the UN. Do the warring factions here, the army and the RSF, do they not care about what happens to the members of the public, which, I mean, they're soldiers, so it's their job to protect the people. Do they not care about them?
Well, to be fair, obviously they don't. That's a very clear statement to make. And to be fair, they haven't cared about the humanitarian affairs from the beginning of this crisis. The situation is devastating, as the report has shown. There's nothing more to say than actually it's urgent that better access for international humanitarian aid is given to reach still many parts of the country, especially in Darfur. Access is very, very limited for international humanitarian relief. It also shows that international humanitarian relief is not at that level that was promised. The US have promised much more, for instance, than is now indeed delivering. But both the parties definitely they care about winning this war. They do not care about the population of Sudan.
It's interesting you mentioned the US there, because we've been reporting just a few minutes ago on how Victoria Nuland's there representing the United States, trying to intervene in Niger to bring some kind of resolution there. What efforts have been made by the international community to try and resolve the situation in Sudan, which to me seems like it is much, much worse than what's happening in nearby Niger?
I mean, in a way, you have the feeling that Niger is still up for grabs, and Sudan, they have almost given up now of gaining control. Niger had, of course, in terms of the geopolitical situation in Africa, a much higher importance than Sudan in the last weeks, where Sudan was already in turmoil. The problem is to be told, I think, especially for the US and their allies, the means to solve these crises and the means to substantially intervene in this conflict politically, so to solve anything or to transform the conflict into a peaceful political dialogue, are just not there at the moment. It's a very, very difficult situation for the US to intervene right now.
That's a pretty depressing kind of thing to hear, that there might be some countries where almost the big hitters like the US have kind of given up on a hope of resolving it. And it looks like, if you look across that, the belt across Central Africa, it looks like it's in chaos at the moment. Is it that bad? And is there a danger this could even spread to a wider area?
I mean, when Niger now falls, there's really the question, where should it spread still? Because essentially every single country in the whole belt, as you've said it, is in turmoil right now. Basically, there was coups in most of the West African countries. There is at the moment war in Sudan. The situation in Chad, Libya is very bad. Looks as well not under in any kind of response. The government is very heavily involved with the Russian Wagner group. So the question remains really what is stable and in a way. It doesn't look like, Chad would be the only country where this conflict in Sudan especially can spread and can create more turmoil. I don't think necessarily South Sudan will be involved in this kind of fighting. But in other ways, the depressing news is it cannot spread anymore because it has actually almost spread everywhere already.
Jan, really appreciate your analysis of the situation. Jan Pospisil is my guest. He's a Sudan Affairs analyst and associate professor on peace and conflict resolution at the UK's Coventry University.